for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENOM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's good guys, Venomfire here, back in the video, and today I'm bringing you guys my full San Francisco 49ers offensive ebook. This has been one of the most highly requested video on my channel probably ever. I have a ton of people spamming comments. And overall, I'm going to go over the entire playbook. What I like to do, there's obviously more popular formations, certain things I won't go over, but show you how I audible, how I do certain situations, and overall, just the best way to run the offense. Before we get into the video, though, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you are enjoying the videos. Again, I bring all this content to you guys for free, so hit that subscribe button. It is the best way to support the channel. Also, leave a like if you want more ebooks. But yeah, we're in San Francisco 49ers offense. It's mainly centered around this strong close formation, the best strong close in the game. This is slowly becoming one of the best offenses in the game. Very popular, and sooner or later it will become one of the either one or two. In addition to that strong close, you have a plethora of running formations: close, slot, slot close, and tight wing. It doesn't have as good single back sets, and there's also a couple of gun sets, but gun is not too good out of the 49ers playbook. We're mainly going to focus on strong close and audibling to those other formations. I have separate videos on things like Trey Y flex and split close, so if you wanted to learn how to do those, you could definitely check those out. But yeah, strong close. Now, you're going to need a couple of abilities. One, you do need what's it called? Backfield Master. So Backfield Master is going to give you those extra hot routes with your running back as well as better catching. Guys in the Ultimate Team that get it are McCaffrey, Kamara, Bush, guys like that. So I just traded over a couple of players. If you're wondering, I am using the 49ers, but I traded over certain players. Also another guy, Aaron Rodgers. You want Gunslinger also. That's very important to any passing offense, specifically out of under center, because you're going to get pressured a lot and you need Gunslinger to get the ball out quickly. I would say that's a needed ability as well. And last but not least, tight end apprentice. You're going to get those extra hot routes with your tight end. Tons of guys get this in Ultimate Team. So we're just going to rock with Kittle, obviously, on the Niners. So those are the three abilities you can get. Other things you could do are route technicians right here, but you don't need any extra hot routes really on these two spots. Just get a fast running back and you will be good to go. Now let's go ahead and set our audibles up. Now you can set them up, honestly, a couple of different ways. Here's usually what I will go with: mesh, post, dive, flood drive, and PA deep cross. If you want, you can switch out PA deep cross with just PA deep. But again, it depends. All depends on how you like to run your offense. We're going to start out with white trail though. And yeah, let's just go ahead, get straight into it. So white trail. It's very important also when you're running the offense that you keep your tight end on the short side. On my first video on strong close, I can't tell you guys how many comments I got about this. Why my running back's not going on a wheel route to a certain side, things like that. So if you're wondering that reason, it's because you were on the wrong side. So for example, I flip it, my tight end's on the wide side now, and I put a wheel route. It's going to go to that left side, which you never want to happen. You always want the wheel route to go to this side, opposite of the tight end. So again, keep your tight end here on the short side of the field. You see we got more space to the left. Keep your tight end on the right. I think I explained that well, but that was a question that I got a lot. So anyways, with that being said, we're going to hop into our setup. You're actually going to have Y on a wheel, ironically enough. But what you're going to do is you're just going to throw A on a post, and we got B on this slant. You see RB, he's already on a flat. He kind of stops on the boundary there, so if you want, you can obviously throw him on that different type of a flat. They're very similar, though. Basically, you got a slant, post, and then you got this little fade route with Deebo Samuel. This is going to be pretty good against cover 2. There's actually another setup after this one that's going to be even better. But again, it still can work just running this setup. What you're going to do is you're just going to motion Ayuk over from right to left. You will see this type of a motion very often throughout the video. You see just stock throwing that fade route. You can get separation against cover 2. We were able to complete it, but you see how that safety was kind of in the range. If they had any knockout ability, that would probably be an interception. So it's not as close. It's a little bit too close for comfort there. Again, we'll address that with our next setup. But obviously, we got this wheel route, we got the flat, and then we got the slant and post. Gives us a couple of high-low reads, not only between the slant and the post, but between the post, the wheel, and then the slant and the flat. So you see both of them are going to be open. all 4 routes are going to be open. If it's man coverage, we're going to get the post to slant both open as well. You notice that I am in cover 2. I'll be audibling on play to play, depending on which play is better against the certain coverage. Here, I'm probably going to try and fit that post route in. You see that's just stock cover 2. Obviously, if it's cover 3, then still all those routes will be open. One more time, here's a look at the setup. Y on a wheel, B or A on a post, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, so you can always lowball this wheel. Also, you see it's cover 2. I waited until he passed 10 yards, and it was still completed. So that wheel route will also be used a lot. Moving on to our second setup, what you're going to do here is you're going to throw A on a drag, you're going to put B on a streak, and RB here on a Texas route. So here's a look at our play art. Again, I wanted to stress the free safety out a little bit. You're going to put more stress and tension on him by putting this streak going directly in the middle of the field where X is still fading to the outside. You're going to motion him over and you're going to snap him right about here. It is a little bit delayed, but he still does. Just you see how much more space we got. Just a couple more steps, and that's honestly the difference between, first of all, a possession catch on the sidelines and a touchdown, but also could be the difference between, an interception and a completed ball. So again, A on a drag, RB on a little Texas route. That Texas route is using the Backfield Master ability, using those extra hot routes. But you see, we just got a lot more space. Even if I am going to possession catch, I got a lot more space. You'll see Rodgers also miss passes throughout the video because of his set feet lead ability, which is going to be annoying, but it is something we're going to deal with, and he's the only guy in regs with Gunslinger, so I'm fine taking that little fault for it. But again, here's the look. Can always check down to either my tight end or that little Texas route, but can also go over the top. And again, this setup's strictly good against cover 2, whereas that first setup out of White Trail works against pretty much every coverage. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next play. I'm going to hop into the PA deep cross. These aren't the only 5 plays I'm running. Again, I'm also going to run PA deep and angle out at the end of the video, out of the strong close, and then we'll move on to, again, those other formations. But I'm going to try and go through a little bit faster here. PA deep cross. So we got 2 setups for this play as well. Our first setup is going to be A on a post, RB on a flat, white on a wheel. And just taking a look at the player, we got a crosser and a deep post from Ayuk. Really, the strong close offense is filtered around the stock routes from the wide receiver positions. So we're going to use those. What I like to do, motion Ayuk over just like this, turn him into a deep little corner route, almost, again, similar to that fade route concept. Again, this play is pretty good against zone, pretty good against cover 3, pretty good against cover 2, as we were just in that. You're obviously first read is going to be trying to hit that cross over the top. You can also kind of quick throw that post route. If it's man coverage, all of these routes will beat man coverage, besides obviously our flat and our wheel. But that post, that crosser, and this deep post motioned over can also beat it. It's going to be better if you have route technician, but it still can get separation. Here's the crosser, boom, able to get that open against a stock cover 2. If I go ahead and audible to cover 3, you see the crosser will still be open, as well as all of our other routes. But again, RB on a flat, Y on a wheel, and A on a post. Again, you see motioning Ayuk over. This will be the theme, like I mentioned throughout the video, motioning that wide receiver over. Cover 3, you can actually fit in that post route, and if you're getting pressured, that's the read you want to make, post or wheel. If you have a little bit more time, you can look to the flat or the crosser. But let's move on to our next setup out of PA deep cross. What you're going to do is put A on a post, Y on a wheel, flat RB, and then you're actually going to flat B. So it's going to be the exact same setup, but you're flatting B. You're probably wondering why we're doing that, but again, we're going to motion them over. And this is just going to open up our wheel route with Raheem Mostert a lot more, not necessarily against cover 2, but against cover 3. These nice little single back wheel route concepts are really nice. You can actually do them out of any formation. But again, you're putting B on a flat, A on a post, RB on a flat as well. And then you're just motioning them over. So I audible to cover 3 here. And you will see Raheem Mostert, he's just going to get a lot of space here. That outside third's getting pulled completely to the flats. The curl flat is also usually getting pulled completely to the outside. If that's not open, which that's obviously going to be your first read. Your first reads should always be these little running backs because those can get it open instantly. So what I recommend in looking at is just your running back. So I can look, oh, McCaffrey's wide open. I can easily check down to him. against cover 2 pretty much any single time. Cover 3, he does get open as well. Not as much separation, but that's usually where your eyes want to be. Later in the play, you look at your crossing routes. But yeah, it's pretty much the theme of it. So one more time, again, here is a look at our setup out of PA Deep Cross, and I'm in the wrong play. But here we go. So again, it's a lot of hot routes. It's not meant to be very simple. You're meant to have to hot route, obviously, a lot here. That was a bad read. Should have checked down. But be careful about that crosser. A lot of people are playing it very deep zone drops, deep Mabel coverage. So you want to check down, look underneath, look for those wheel routes that stop the Mabel coverage. But yeah, let's go ahead. Move on to our next play. It's going to be flood drive right here. We have a cover 3 beater out of this play, so we're just going to run our little stock cover 3 here. What we're going to go ahead and do is smart route X. We're going to put A on a little corner route, and then we're going to actually go ahead and wheel Y. We're going to go ahead and flat RB and slant B. So here's a look at our setup. What I like to go ahead and do with this setup, or actually I like to flat B, excuse me on that one. So you're going to flat B. It's going to be similar, but you're going to again motion Ayuk over. So just like this, here's our setup. We got A on a corner, smart route X, and then throw RB on a flat, Y on a wheel. So again, don't get those confused. That was my bad. But yeah, X is going to be the read. We're going to roll out and throw that over the top. Now, I did kind of get forced out of the pocket, and even with an out-of-range throw, there was enough separation for me to complete the pass. That shows you how good the cover 3 beater is. And again, this is another thing that you have to run with your tight end on the short side so you get the most separation possible. If I were to flip it, my post would have to run across the entire field, and it just would not be open. So again, A on a corner. It's very important that you do not smart out your corner out also. But yeah, so just throw Y on a wheel and B on a flat route right here. And yeah, you will be pretty much good to go. Now, with RB on a flat, we can also do something else with him that I'll show after this play. But not only can you roll out, but you shoot him in the wrong coverage. So we'll just throw that ball away. And you'll see that throughout the video, me forgetting to audible. But yeah, the type of a setup also can work against cover 2. Usually you'll see if they're in cover 3. Right now, they're kind of in a baseline look because I audibled from cover 2 to cover 3, but usually they'll have that single high safety look, and you can tell if they're in zone or man as far as that difference goes. But again, here's a look at the setup. Boom. RB on a flat, Y on a wheel, A on a corner, smart route X, and put B on a little flat route. Motion out. You see I can go ahead and throw this from the pocket, but it is tight, especially from the pocket and especially under pressure. Usually you want to kind of roll out. I know a lot of us are using that gunslinger ability, and even with gunslinger, you should be able to get out of the pocket just a little bit. I'm going to try and double team here. That's going to help us out a little bit. But let's hop into our other kind of variation with this first setup. And what we're going to do is put RB on a little Texas route. So here's a look at what we're going to kind of go ahead and do. And again, we're going to keep B on a flat, motion him over. We just have RB on this Texas instead of that flat. And I like this because it gives you a little middle option kind of between them, as I'm in the wrong play yet again. I apologize for doing that. But let's go ahead. Simply audible one more time. Again, same setup. Sorry, I have to keep reiterating, but this will be the last time that we run it before we move into our next flood drive setup. Here we go. So finally, we got it set. Again, RB is just going to give another option. It's going to distract the user, especially from going deep and defending our post, which is definitely what we do not want. But you see really nice separation. It almost looks like that outside third's going to run up and defend it, but then he comes back at the last second. So make sure you throw it when he comes back the second time. Let's move on to our second setup. Our second setup is going to be A on a post and B on a flat, or B on a slant. Here's a look. You're going to motion B over. And you see we're pretty much motioning B over every single time. RB is already on a flat, and you can put him on that different flat again if you want. Another thing you can do is you can also throw Y on a wheel. That's optional, I will say. This is a little bit more of a max protect type setup, but you can, as a last option, throw Y on a wheel depending on what he's doing or what your opponent. If he's dropping 2, you always want to send 5 routes out, but it'll just depend. You see RB here wide open, that deep post. More of a cover 3 beater, especially than cover 2. But you can every once in a while catch someone in man coverage and beat them over the top with it. One more time. Here's a look. RB on a flat, B on a slant, A on a post. You can throw Y on a wheel if you choose to. Smart out X if you choose to as well. But again, just see what's open. A lot of times that wheel route would be open if I threw it on the field as well. But let's move on to our last play in this first set of audibles. It's going to be mesh post. So mesh post, we got, again, 2 real setups for this. Now, I personally only really like one setup, but I'll show both of them. With this first setup, it's going to be a little bit of a quick snap type setup. What you're going to do is throw X just on a slant. And then you just motion B out. So just like this, motion B out. Just a stack, actually going to motion him to the opposite side. So you see the slant's going to be open, the flat's going to be open. That's cover 2. If I were to run cover 3, which I will right here, you will notice that B is going to be wide open. So again, here's a look at our setup. Now, I don't really like to throw Y on a wheel because I don't like this drag to wheel combo. So since we have A on a drag, I like to just leave Y in his blocking spot. But here's cover 3. Boom. You see that post route. It's going to be wide open like I mentioned. So it's really just a cat and mouse game. Depending on the coverage, every single setup works. Some work better than others against certain coverages, but they all can work. And a lot of times in Madden, you can tell what coverage he's in. Here, I would definitely guess it's a cover 2. They're not pressed. They're not in a shadowed formation. This looks like a cover 2 or a cover 4. So just based upon that, this setup would work 100%. Can check down easily, even though, we're motioning that receiver out. But yeah, it just gives you a lot of unique setup out of strong close that not too many people online you will see them running. And yeah, you can definitely catch some people off guard with it. Now that drag, the left side is not as good unless the post can get over the top. So if I want another option, I could throw Y on like an option route. But yeah, this is more of a quick decision, quick throw type thing. You're not really looking for 20 yards. I'll show it one more time here. RB on a flat, A on a drag. And then with Y, I could throw them on like an option. But yeah, just motion Ayuk out. One little step here and boom, B's open. And yeah, so can work against cover 2, cover 3. Obviously depends on what your opponent's doing with his adjustments. But yeah, now one little honorable setup out of mesh post I'll go over really quickly because the video is already a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. X on a streak. You're going to leave him on a drag, and then you're just going to throw RB on a little Texas route. Now we're going to motion Ayuk over. This is kind of a cover 3 beater with Samuel. It sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. You see how the free safety is so close to playing him that's the reason it sometimes doesn't work. Especially with how kind of close he is. It's not too good, but it's usable. I just wanted to throw it in there real quick. But let's go ahead, hop into those last 2 plays. We got some man coverage beaters out of these. Now it's actually going to be our last 3 plays because I'm also going to talk about the halfback dive just a little bit. Running the ball is not too often you will do, but if you're facing a good player, you want to run the ball a lot. This is, again, more of a pass formation. You got off tackle as well. I like the counter as well. But yeah, we're going to talk about PA deep, dive, and angle out. We're going to start out with PA deep here. I'm also going to hop into some of the audibles as well. But yeah, we're going to run just some man coverage here. I'm going to run a cover 1 robber press. We're obviously going to press here. But yeah, let's hop into our actual setup. So our first setup out of PA deep, really the only setup with the play is going to be X on a slant, A on a post, RB on a flat, and Y on a wheel. We've seen this type of a route combo out of a lot of these plays, just slants, posts, flats, and wheels, especially from these 2 guys. They're running the same thing every single play almost. The tight end's on a post a lot of the time, and with Samuel, it can obviously depend on what you're doing. But Ayuk's the route we want to focus on. This is very similar to the PA deep cross setup, except X is on a slant instead of a crosser, and B is on a little backside, almost crosser, instead of his deep post that we turn into a corner route. So this is really good against man coverage. Even a guy like Ayuk's going to get open. So I'm just going to motion him over, kind of snap the ball, and boom. Look at the separation. So this is Ayuk, 80 overall. I don't even know if he is an 80 overall, 79 overall. So you can imagine Tyreek Hill or Deion Sanders with route technician, how much separation you can get. Again, this is pressed. It's obviously going to be better if pressed, but it doesn't necessarily need to be pressed for it to have success. Again, here's a look at our setup. RB on a flat, A on a post, X on a slant, Y on a wheel. Motion, again, Ayuk over from right to left, and then snap him right about there. He's going to get that separation. You can kind of wait to throw him and then lob it, but I do recommend lobbing it at all times. You never really want to bull pass it. Obviously, even if there is a free safety in the middle or a safety in the middle of the field, it's going to get open, but it'll be even more open if I were to run coverage like this, just to where there's no middle of the field safeties, usering everything. He's not going to be able to really ever user this route unless he's starting on that free safety. So you really won't get lurked too much. And even if it is defended, somehow he throws like a deep half over there, then you go ahead and you check down to your slant, flat, wheel, or post. So it's not the end of the world. You see how Ayuk's getting open every time, but he is defended. He has 90 speed. He's not exactly the fastest guy on the football field, so keep that in mind. Take this with a grain of salt in the way that I'm running it. Even if it's man coverage unpressed, I believe he should get some separation, but it's not as good. Even if it's man coverage, the post is going to beat it. The slant's going to beat man coverage, so it's not too big of a worry. Obviously, zone, that crosser's not really ever going to get open, but you have your other routes that will work. But yeah, that's PAD, but I don't really have too many other setups with this play besides this one. There's some things you could mess with, but I prefer to just leave it the same. So let's hop into the halfback dive now. I'll talk about it briefly. We got some other better runs that I would prefer to talk about, but with halfback dive, the best way to run, in my opinion, is to motion Ayuk over. So you saw pretty much every pass play, we've motioned Ayuk over. In doing this, you're going to make him think he's passing. The run's going to be the last thing on his mind. And when he sees a motion, he's going to go PA deep cross, FL drive, Y trail, PA deep, whatever. Go through every single play, and then, he's just running the ball. Dang it. So he's going to be throwing people in coverage, manning up certain people. Even if it is man coverage, you will see that defender's going to go all the way over, and we're just going to run it directly to the right. I can cut it back up the middle, but you see the holes. Very, very solid. I believe there's some backup offensive linemen in the game for the Niners right now, at least up front in that center position. And we're just really having our way, able to cut it in. You can kind of bounce it outside there. I've seen occasions where if they're in zone coverage, you can actually go ahead and sometimes bounce it out to the left. But yeah, halfback dive, you want to mix it in. Don't mix it in too much. Don't run dive every single, 2 plays. Don't run it 2 plays out of 3. But usually you want to run it maybe 1 out of 4 plays, either dive or off tackle, which I won't talk about, but off tackle is good. Moving on to angle out, first setup is going to be A on a post, B on a slant, Y on a wheel. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is motion B over. So we're going to motion B, again, the same way we've been doing. X is going to be our first read against man coverage. X gets wide open. That's almost a man coverage beater, that little nice quick out route. Now putting wheel on the side of the out route is a little bit risky, but sometimes that out route's going to break quick enough so that it's going to open up the wheel route. You see B on a slant. Obviously, the same slant to post to flat combo. We've seen all video. Man coverage, B's going to be open, A's going to be open. You can easily work with that. So that's our first setup. You see, works against man coverage. That thing's going to work against zone as well. Let's hop into a little bit of a zone coverage setup here. And what you're going to do is just throw Y on a wheel and X on a flat. So here's a look at our setup as I'm in the wrong play. But here's a look. Again, we talked about that wheel little flat concept earlier. Here we got the curl. We're going to motion Ayuk actually out to the right here just a step. Against cover 2, you're going to throw the flat. Against cover 3, you're usually going to end up throwing that curl. So depending on the coverage they're in will depend on who you actually throw the ball to. But again, X on a flat, Y on a wheel. Simple concept. And again, you're going to be able to get the ball off quickly when you do that little small motion. Low ball it, possession catch. You will be chilling. So that's going to be it for angle out. I don't run this play a whole lot, but it's good in the red zone. It's good against man coverage, so you can definitely mix it in. But yeah, that's pretty much it for strong close. I know that was a lot, but strong close is what the offense is built around. Now let's talk about some of the audibles. So obviously, you're going to be audibling to I form. It's really which one you prefer. So I personally prefer I form slot. That's my favorite running formation pretty much in the game right now. You got the RPOs. It's really good with stretch and run. It's pretty good against some of the most popular rundies as well. Right there we got shedded, but you can see the type of holes you will get with this run play. Again, usually you will want to audible from strong close to the run instead of maybe audibling from, I form slot to strong close. But yeah, there's a stretch, there's a dive, and there's a toss. So you can really run either of these. Now you can't actually flip the toss, which is kind of annoying, but I can use some motion if I wanted to. Also with I-form slot, I can kind of motion McCaffrey out like a step right there, and that kind of opens the stretch up and the dive, so he's more of a lead blocker instead of just a body, because we know running backs like that aren't exactly going to be blocking superb for us. But again, you got the dive, you got the stretch. Both are really, really nice. And you can also throw the RPOs. So since I'm playing, press, man-to-man coverage, it's not really ever going to be open. You see as the stretch gets a nice yardage right there. And obviously you want to run the stretch kind of on this short side of the field as well. But yeah, against zone, cover 3 here. Against cover 2, you will see that this little stretch becomes a little bit, the RPO becomes a little bit more throwable. Dive, boom, I can throw it out. Even though Deebo Samuel blocked literally nobody there, we picked up 6 yards. So you can definitely take it as you will. But that I-form slot, very, very solid. You're not really ever going to audible to pass the ball, so I'm more focusing on the runs. But yeah, we got I-form slot close and then I-form close as well. I like the slot close and a little audible between. You can kind of get this motion snap. So if he's playing you heavy, depending on the coverage, if he's going to like a 3-3-5, which I wouldn't really expect him to, you can catch him off guard. And again, you just audible to slot close, stretch, you flip the run by flicking your right stick, and then you can kind of get this motion snap animation almost. Now we just got instant shedded by, again, that lower overall center, but you saw the type of blocks we get. Can also audible to like an I-form close. It's a very simple audible because your fullback's just shifting, but it's easy to run I-form close to strong close as well. We know that the runs out of strong close are not super good, so we can quickly audible, catch someone off guard, especially if he's in a full-blown, pass defense. We audible quickly, 1, 2, 3, and you can snap the ball. So he's going to have to reset his entire defense in, 3 seconds. It's going to be very difficult to convert to a pass and run deep in doing that. Obviously, this is actually a decent run defense in the formation that I'm in, but yeah, you want to catch him off guard. Definitely use audible a lot. It's there for a reason. Don't just neglect it. You want to use it very heavy, and you can have success kind of like this. You never want to overthink it. Just out of an offense like strong close, out of any under center, you never want to drop back 40 times. So run the ball 15 times a game, 10, 15 times a game, you'll be good. Obviously, all these other formations I could talk about, I-form pro, I-form, you can't really audible the I-form wing unless I were to throw a tight end here, so I don't recommend doing that, but obviously there are other gun formations. You can't really audible between them, but there's Trey White Flex, again, made a video on that. Split Close made a video on that, so I actually also made one on Y-off trio weak, so really every usable formation in there I made a video on, so if you want to learn how to use those, you can check that out, although a different playbook. But yeah, overall, tons of great sets. So that's gonna do it for the video, though. If you guys would hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new again, and peace. I'm out of here.